Alright, what's going on, you guys? It's Royce Jacob. Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to Stock Talk. This is a series I make whenever I feel it's necessary, where we cover some exciting news and price action in regard to some of the stocks we've been talking about on the channel. In today's case, as you already know, we are covering some of our good old COVID-related biotechs. Sometimes you love them, sometimes you hate them, sometimes you love some of them, sometimes you hate some of them, which you might know what I'm talking about there. So we will just go down the line on the watch list here. On our right, Inovio, Moderna, AstraZeneca, Vaxart, Novavax, and Sorento. Lots to cover today. In terms of news, we're actually just going to be covering primarily Inovio, because if you guys are invested, you know that they had some hot news today. Didn't play out as well as some of us would have liked it to, but we will cover that, view this as objectively as we can, and then a little bit of news on Moderna and AstraZeneca as well. But we will take a look at each of these charts, and I will let you guys know what we're thinking, what I'm thinking in regard to price action. Okay, so before we do dive in here, I will ask you guys to please give the video a like if you do gain value from it, and subscribe to the channel if you are new. Thank you very much, and let's get straight into this. Okay, so Inovio chart right here in front of us. As you guys can see here, it did end the day just about 15% down. It did see some blood today. At one point over the course of the trading day, it was down over 20%, almost 25%. So it saw some tough times today, driven on some not bad news, not good news. And I think that was the issue. Okay, it wasn't as good as a lot of investors thought it might be. And we will let's actually jump into these articles, because as you guys know, if you have tuned in, it's always good to establish a fundamental base prior to looking at the technicals. Okay, so let's see why Inovio saw the price action it did today, and then we'll take a look at the chart. All right, so Inovio's 860% year-to-date rally takes a breather after the release of phase 1 data for the company's COVID-19 vaccine candidate. I'm not going to go too deep on these guys. I do have a couple articles, just highlights I want to show you guys real quick after this. So we'll try to keep this as brief as possible. So we will just read some of these highlights and then jump on to the next article. On Tuesday, Inovio fell as much as 17.8% after the company released early phase 1 data on its INO 4800 COVID-19 vaccine. The company said 94% of phase 1 participants demonstrated an immune response to the vaccine candidates. Inovio said its vaccine candidate was selected to participate in non-human primate studies as part of the U.S. government's Operation Warp Speed. All right, so again, Operation Warp Speed, Moderna is a part of it. Even Vaxart was just recently initiated. The U.S. government's initiative to fund these companies and give them all the resources necessary to develop a vaccine as fast as possible. Okay, and Inovio is part of that. We will go on to look at a little bit more news. Again, I want to try to keep it as quick as possible. But again, if you guys want to check this out, which I do recommend, especially if you're invested, please go check out these articles. All right, or just do your own. Always do your own research. Always do your own diligence. Just trying to sum it up here. All right, so benchmark analyst expects FDA to allow Inovio's coronavirus vaccine to move to phase 2 out of 3 clinical trials. All right, so this is good news. Benchmark's Aiden Husinov, that's a tough one, not going to try that again, noted that while the phase 1 efficacy data provided by Inovio before the market opened on Tuesday morning was insufficient to make a judgment call about the future utility of the vaccine, he's still encouraged by the news. He reiterated a buy rating. All right, so again, with these analysts, always take their words with a grain of salt. This is their job, so it does hold weight, of course, but this is good news, okay? And this will definitely be good news for the stock, especially considering it took such a big hit today. If they do release this soon, and if the FDA does decide to clear them to move on to phase 2 out of 3 clinical trials, okay? So that is a big deal. That in companies like Moderna, and in the past, when you see companies move on to a new phase of clinical trials, very tangible, very obvious good news. So if we do see that happen, I will expect a bounce in the stock. Let's move on to this last little piece of news, of an article. Inovio claims positive results on COVID-19 vaccine, but critical data are missing. Okay, so that's kind of the thing I was saying before. It's not good news. It's not good news. It's not bad news, but it's just kind of incomplete news. All right, so I just want to read you guys this little part right here. In a press release, Inovio said its vaccine led to immunological response rates in 34 of 36 patients in the trial, but did not disclose how many patients produce antibodies that neutralize the coronavirus, data key to determining whether the vaccine could protect against infection. The company did not immediately respond to a request for more information. So that's, I mean, you cut these guys some slack. You know, it's they're trying to execute on a very hard, if not almost impossible task at the pace people want them to, at least. So give them a break. But again, this is just kind of incomplete data, and I don't blame them for not immediately responding to questions. Give them some time, but if they proceed to not respond to a lot of the questions, a lot of very valid questions that people are asking, that might be a red flag. But as of right now, it doesn't brush me as a red flag. Okay, so the company's press release appeared to play down the importance of neutralizing antibodies, pointing to a study that found roughly 1/3 of patients who recovered from COVID-19 had no detectable antibodies in their blood. So I don't want to get too scientific here, but that is a decent argument. If 1/3 of patients who recover from COVID don't have the antibodies, that is a decent amount. Obviously, still the minority amounts, because 2/3 do have the antibodies. But that's a little sketchy that they were trying to phrase it that way and frame the scenario that way and the data that way. Okay, so I didn't have anything else here. We'll call it there as far as news, but again, I think the reason we saw this price action today is because, again, Inovio is up 860% year to date. Okay, so it's been skyrocketing. As you know, we've been talking about it. Of course, if you've been tuning in, you would know that we do talk about this stock a lot, have been covering this a lot, have been invested in it for this whole ride up, and it's been a good ride. But I think a lot of people were expecting, I've heard a lot of people talking about these results that were scheduled to come out this week. A lot of investors were expecting better news, which this is still good news. If you guys do go into, again, I don't want to dig too deep, but the news looks pretty promising. Like it does show some efficacy. There is just some key data missing, as those other articles stated. Okay, so let's just take a look at the charts here. This was today. This is on the 15-minute candles, 15-minute time frame. So today, right, pre-market, you guys can look at this on any trading platform, whatever you use. You can see this morning pre-market, before the market even opened, it was down significantly following this news. It did proceed to climb lower in the day. And again, it's just, you guys have to remember that it's still up significantly over the course of the past couple months, okay, and past month even, all right? So it's still up significantly. There were just a lot of people, a lot of weaker hands, unfortunately, that did probably buy in around the like $30, $32 levels. And I'm going to imagine that is a lot of the people who sold today and caused this second wave of sell-off, because upon market open, it was floating around -10, -15% for a while. But then the new hands, the people who bought up here, got scared, caused that second round of sell-off that caused it to go down like another 10%. Okay. But again, as the market closed out, you do see some rationale hit. People realize that the news might not have been as detrimental as they made it out to be. You see this little spike up back in the market. That's good. What I was actually worried about playing out here was kind of a head and shoulders pattern. Was kind of forming in my eyes with a big old head. We see left shoulder, maybe head. I was worried that it might go sideways and create a right shoulder here and correct back down significantly. But it is a good sign that it did bounce off this like $25 area as a line of support. And again, it closed down the day just under $27. So that is good news. As far as what I think might happen in the near future, there's two scenarios. So one, the first case is that it goes back up here over the course of the rest of the trading week, and it retests this new line of resistance that it's now set after today's low. Okay, so use back on June 26th, set a high, set a lower high on June 29th, and if we do, we might set another third lower high, at which point around the $29 area, I will say that, but my cursor's over it, so sorry, I assumed you guys were looking there. Around the $29 area, if it does happen to reach that mark, to be completely honest, like I've said in the past, if you've caught them, I am bullish on all of these companies long term until we do establish a vaccine. But because Inovio's climbed so significantly, because we've seen so much bullish momentum, and again, if they do move on to phase 2, if they do get approved by the FDA to move on to phase 2 clinical studies, that's very bullish. That could send them above this. But from a technical perspective, if I do expect them to come back to the $29 region, if that happens, I will reduce my position pretty significantly, unless they significantly break right back out of this, okay? So if it breaks this lower line of resistance and starts using it even as a line of support, or just kind of completely breaks out of it, because with a stock like this, we all know that's possible, especially in this market. So if it does break this line of resistance significantly and close at least a daily above this, I will definitely reconsider even not double downing, but increasing to my position. But if it does use this if it does bounce off this and continue to trend lower, then I will close out a good amount of my position for the near future. All right, so that is Inovio. Let's move on to Moderna, good old Moderna. All right, so we're gonna zoom out significantly more here. Let's actually go to like the hourly time frame on Moderna, because this one's moving This one's moving very steadily, a lot less volatile. Obviously, again, you guys, this is a $25 billion market cap company. It is seeing less volatility right now, but Moderna, I'm actually very bullish on Moderna right now. For full transparency, of all of these, Moderna is currently my largest single long position. So do know that, but you guys know the deal. Let's cover this real quick prior to getting into the charts. AstraZeneca, Moderna ahead in COVID-19 vaccine race, says the WHO. And as you guys know, the WHO has been kind of, they've been called out, all right? They've kind of been canceled over the course of this crisis because they do have some ties that may be a little biased in a bad way. But that said, they do still have impact on, they are the World Health Organization nonetheless. All right, so Reuters, AstraZeneca's experimental COVID-19 vaccine is probably the world's leading candidate and most advanced in terms of development, the WHO's chief scientist said on Friday. The vaccine drug maker has already begun large-scale and mid-stage human trials of the vaccine, which was developed by researchers at Oxford University. Certainly in terms of how advanced they are, the stage at which they are, I think, probably the leading candidate. WHO chief scientist told the news conference. So it's possible they will have the results quite early. I'm sorry I said the name like that. There's no way I can pronounce that. It said Moderna's COVID-19 vaccine candidate was not far behind. Okay, so good news for obviously AstraZeneca, but really good news for Moderna as well. Among more than 200 candidates, 15 of which have entered clinical trials. We do know that Moderna's vaccine is also going to go into phase 3 clinical trials, probably from the middle of July, and so the vaccine candidate is not far behind, she said. But I think AstraZeneca certainly has more global scope at the moment in terms of where they're going maybe, and planning their vaccine trials. All right, need an editor on this one, guys. Especially Reuters. Okay, so that said, Moderna is looking very strong. Still good news for Moderna. We will touch on AstraZeneca, but I do want to let you guys know I'm not at all invested in AstraZeneca right now. I do think it's a promising company. Obviously, they're doing tangible things. I tend to trade options primarily, and I just haven't gotten into trading AstraZeneca right now. So I will say that. We'll still look at the charts, but Moderna looking very bullish. Again, it's been using this lower line of support extremely well over the past few days especially, so that is bullish in my mind, and it is still possible. It gets more and more unlikely as this band scales up. So again, the further out we go, the higher up this price target gets over time. But again, it's still very possible, especially if they were to come out with like great news. It's very possible for them to come up here and retest this, or not retest, but test for the first time, just spike back up and test this line of resistance up above $100. Okay, so again, that would be a huge move for Moderna, but again, this entire sector as a whole is very news driven, so keep that in mind, you guys. It is still sitting at a $25 billion market cap, so it is a bigger company, significantly bigger than Inovio and Novavax, a lot of these guys, except for AstraZeneca. So keep that in mind, and yeah, I've said this many times. We'll say it again. I do think Moderna can definitely get back up here to like the $70 to $75 region. It's not a crazy move from this point. It's only another $5, $10, another 10-20% move up. So I definitely think that's possible. And again, it's showing a lot of strength right now. The volume has died off a little bit. Yeah, the volume's definitely died off, but I think that's a good sign of just where everything, or where this stock could go, because I do think it will see a move up. I don't think it will move further down just because it's been floating sideways around this point for over a month now. So I think it's a lot more likely to see a move up, obviously taking global macroeconomic factors into account. COVID cases spiking, that's I've said that so much, I feel like that doesn't need to be established, but I know you guys know that cases, especially in the U.S., are going up. I know whatever death rate is going down, or flat, whatever, but the numbers of the cases are still going up. It still drives attention to this sector. People still want to have a piece of these save the world stocks, as we call them. Okay, so I'll pretty much call it there on Moderna. You guys, my outlook will not change unless it does break this lower line of resistance, or this lower line of support, I'm sorry. And then again, if it does shoot up, I do think this is shaping up for a big move up. I think that is very bullish, okay? So keep you guys posted, of course, on all of these. AstraZeneca, let's take a look at this. Very flat lately. Again, AstraZeneca what exactly is AstraZeneca's market cap? So $138 billion. AstraZeneca is a huge company. Another reason that I don't personally like to trade it just because the upside, although it may be a great company, which I do believe them to be, the upside for me personally, and again, to each their own, the upside for me personally isn't as great with the market cap that wild. And again, there's plenty of companies that have seen crazy moves with the market caps like that, but I'm just choosing not to play it. AstraZeneca is really unexciting to me. It is at an all-time high right now. It's been going sideways. This is 100% dependent on news. If they do come out with a like secure the bag vaccine, like they have a proven vaccine that is efficacious, then we will obviously see a move up in this company. But there's really nothing. There's not much to look at the charts here. Maybe you could day trade this if you wanted. There is a little bit of volatility, but this is, in my eyes, a very unexciting stock, unfortunately, for what could be a very exciting company. Okay, so let's move on to Vaxart. This is an exciting one that has been on my radar for a little while. I recently did create a position in Vaxart on this move down. Very good buying opportunity in my eyes. Let's go to like the 15-minute candle, so it's a little more digestible. But yeah, you see this huge gap up on Vaxart when they announced that they were part of when they got initiated to Operation Warp Speed. That is this huge gap up right here. You see they went from floating around like $4 to $14, a cool little 3x, and they did correct back down over the course of the past few days. I saw this as a great buying opportunity. Two-wave theory. When something sees a move up like this, there will almost inevitably be a second wave in my mind. Again, with all the fundamentals playing into this, I'd be surprised to not see Vaxart see a second wave and even go past this high. So Vaxart, let's take a look at their market cap real quick. They're sitting at a $650 million market cap. So, I mean, plenty of room for growth. These guys could easy 5x and be at a $300 billion or $3 billion market cap. I guess it wasn't easy math for my dumb brain, but yeah, this, I mean, as far as market cap is concerned, there's a lot of growth potential for each individual share. Vaxart, I am bullish on them right now. Unfortunately, you cannot trade options on them, but I do have a stock position on Vaxart at the moment. So we will keep an eye on these guys. Again, I would personally be surprised. I always remember you guys, this could obviously not happen, play out the complete opposite of what I'm saying. But I do think that Vaxart will see another significant move up just because that's how this market's been working. All right, Novavax. So Novavax, if you guys did catch the last stock talk where I covered these guys, did not play out the head and shoulders pattern, which is a good sign. Again, it makes sense now looking at it because this candle did come down and really test this previous high before it broke out. So it kind of makes sense that it did just use that as a point of support, bounced off of it, and continued to roll up. All right, so Novavax chart is looking. I mean, you can't look at this chart. There's no way anyone can look at this chart and think anything bearish. Almost, aside from maybe this double top, it is a little worrisome that it did set in kind of a double top here. But I mean, if we just look at a general like trend line, like just drawing it, you know what, maybe let's do this instead. All right, we'll start here and then just kind of, I think that's a little more fair. Okay, so if this is kind of what I'm expecting to see again, if momentum does continue in this direction, just to kind of play around within this area until either we see another breakout or breakdown, okay? But I do expect it to play within this range. Healthy range, still seeing a lot of gains, could potentially scratch back up above or actually hit the 90 mark for the first time. So could scratch above $90. Again, we did draw this line of that it's used as support and resistance in the past. $90 psychological even, obviously $100. It could hit, again, Novavax still at what, like $4.8 billion market cap. So getting bigger, getting significantly bigger over time. But yeah, I think, I mean, Novavax chart just looks super bullish to me. I'm confident on Novavax as well right now. All right, so let's move on to our last one, Sorento. So Sorento, as many of you know, a treatment as opposed to a vaccine like the rest of them we've been talking about. Always good to diversify within sectors. Say that a lot, but it is very important in my mind. Even among the vaccine, although they are competitors, a lot of time they move in unison. And obviously, if one comes out with great news, the others might take a significant hit. Okay, so always diversify within sectors, also diversify with different players within that sector. So all vaccines, I feel like it's good to hold, and I do have a solid Sorento position because I do feel like it's good to hold a treatment as opposed to a vaccine company. So Sorrento is looking great in my mind. Okay, so we saw, not going to zoom out that much. So we saw this very significant move up about a week ago, and again, I think that this it was such a good buying opportunity in my mind at this point, especially because it came right back down, perfectly retested this area before this gap up and breakout. And I mean, I bought a bunch over here. So this was a great buying opportunity. I still think Sorento was up almost 3% on the day. It's showing steady growth. Volume isn't too insane, but as you can see here, volume is, it did pick up here as it closed out the day. So that's a good sign. And again, Sorento, another very bullish chart, just looking at this, there's no like real true line, upper line of resistance I can draw here just because it's so steep. But I mean, it's following this, I mean, kind of like that somewhat well. You guys know whenever I draw these trend lines, you just kind of average it out because it's always like give or take a few percent or whatnot. But this looks like a pretty solid trend line, and I mean, this isn't as important as just the fact that it's holding so strong. And this just, in my eyes, just not even looking at any technicals or anything, just kind of the years I've been looking at charts, this looks like it is shaping up for a breakout. Similar to Vaxart, I would be surprised if we don't see another significant move up. I did mention previously, do I have the line up here? Yeah, I do think Sorento, because this is a line that they used long in the past. I won't get into it right now, but you know what? Why not? This is the last one anyway. So, Jesus, all time. I'm sorry, you guys. This is pretty overwhelming looking. Okay, so back here in 2015, that wasn't actually that bad. 2015 and 2018, it did use this as a line of support, of resistance. I'm sorry, getting confused. Of resistance twice. Okay, so both in 2015, 2018. I definitely don't think that it's out of the question at all, especially because they're working on right now is so important and literally caused a global crisis and pandemic. That we could see Sorento climb back to these prices, but always remember, you guys, very news driven. If they release even the slightest bit of good news, I would not be surprised at all to see them climb up to $10. On the monthly candles, you look here, I mean, this looks fantastic. Significantly more volume than you've seen in the past. 2 huge green monthly volume candles and bars. So again, Sorento is looking bullish from a monthly pattern as well. I'm glad we actually looked at this monthly, okay, because that looks very good. And again, I wouldn't be surprised at all. I will say it did almost scratch there in this candle back in May, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it try to go back and retest this 1050 area. All right, so my money is on that. Know this, guys. My money is on everything I've been saying today. Please let me know if there is anything that I missed or anything that you see is exciting in regard to any of the stocks that I talked about that I may not have covered on. Would love to talk to you guys about those in the comments. If you guys do want to know exactly which positions I have in these companies, when I trade them, when I enter, when I exit, when I add on, when I shave off, you can check out my complete portfolio and daily newsletter. It's first link down in the description, exactly as it states. It is a complete breakdown of my portfolio, and I also send out a newsletter on every trading day during market hours talking about the trades I made that day, why I updated my portfolio the way I did, and just kind of my current thoughts on the market and the current landscapes that we talk about a lot here on the channel. All right, so check that out if you're interested. If not, no worries. But until next time, you guys, always remember, take action, make waves. Peace.